Hello and welcome everyone to our Fantasy Grounds Unity Saturday stream. I'm Josh and this is our map and image creation. This is where we go over all of our art related news as well as all of the tutorials and demonstrations of the tools that we use inside of Fantasy Grounds to create all of our maps and images. So thanks everyone for joining me today. Yep, I got my internet all squared away, so we should have no more problems from here on out. So yeah, great. Oh, we have a question already from J-Rock. How's it going, J-Rock? What's the best practice of dropping an image on a map using the stamp tool with the image, or just dragging and dropping? So that's actually a pretty good question because there are some pretty big differences between the usage of each of those. And let me just kind of demonstrate here really quickly. There's two main differences that I kind of think about when I'm going to either drag and drop an image specifically onto the map, or if I'm going to stamp it. And if you're going to be interacting with the image after the fact, even though with our new image tools, you can certainly go in and do that. So if we go into our painting area over here, one of the things that we can actually do now is go into our edit mode, and as you can see here, we can interact with all of our little stamped images that we've placed, even our shadows. We can move all of these around, but what we cannot do is rotate the image, nor can the image contain any metadata. So what that means is that if the image itself has built-in light source or a built-in line of sight, it will not follow through with the stamped tool. That will only happen if we drag and drop that image in. So let's go into our assets and let's just grab something. We'll grab a tree. Let's grab a tree from our 2019 art package. If I go into my decorations, and I'm just going to type in tree here and grab one of these. So what I can actually do here is if I grab and drop this in, what you're going to be able to see here is that this already has some line of sight that's attached to it. And that's going to follow this image around as I move it. The other thing is it's going to create a completely new layer for each dragged and dropped image. So if I were to even drag and drop this image again, grab the same one, you see it's going to create a brand new layer there. So all of the time that we do this, we have more flexibility in the control of the image because I can actually come in here and rotate this, and I'm holding down control so that I can rotate it without snapping. It'll snap to the grid, or it'll snap to increments of 45 degrees if I do not. The same is true as if I drag this around, it's going to snap to the grid, but if I hold control, I can move it to wherever I wish. So those are some main differences. I can come back in and rotate it. It's really good if you have a particular image that you want to interact with, as I said before. So you can use the drag and drop system. So let's say, for example, if you're going to be, if you had a door, or maybe if you wanted to use a secret door that's like a bookcase or something along those lines, and you want to actually rotate that image after the fact and make it a little bit more immersive, then you can drag and drop it. Otherwise, you can stamp it. And one of the reasons why I like to stamp most of my images is because I can maintain that all on one layer. And see, so what I can do here is I can hide these individually if I so wish. Oh, there is a tagging system for the assets. So all of the assets, depending on what they are and how they are located. So if we are looking for specifically a particular type of, let's say, for example, if you wanted to look up just like stone walls or so on and so forth, they should all be labeled as such. You can just type in. So yeah, there is a tagging system in place. Well, hopefully that clears up the differences between the two. If you want to, mainly for like decorations and whatnot, it's great to just use the stamp tool because that's going to eliminate a lot of layer bulk in the side of your of your image over in the Layers tab. So I kind of primarily use the drag and drop system if I'm going to be using tiles, or if I'm going to be using a large kind of pre-made conglomerate. So the way that it works is the file name, let me just hover over. Let's go to something along the lines of, let's go into here. And let's go into our decoration. So if I hover over this, you're going to see that this says awning, coast, decoration. So we try not to bulk it up too much, but you can be specific in your kind of looking for images, right? So the way that it's done is the underscores are like a tagging system. You don't have to necessarily do that. But if I were to, for example, be in this base folder and I type in decoration, all of the decorations are going to pop up for me. So the way that they're primarily set up is that we have brushes. So I could, even if I were in the very base kind of folder here, I could look up brush, and this is going to actually find all of the different brushes from all of the different art packs. Now I can narrow that down even further. So that's like a tag, even though it's included in the actual file name itself. What it will actually do is go through that entire system and look for those tags that are included in the name for a little bit more of a concise way of doing that. So let's say, for example, if I look up stone brush, and then we're going to have all of the different brushes that are specific to anything that is tagged with stone. So it could be walls or walkways or so on and so forth. So it should work out. And so what we try not to do is get too much of a over embellished tagging system. They should be pretty concise. Oh, a user settable tag. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes. Like you could actually create your own groupings. Yeah, that would be very cool. Yeah. I understand what you're saying now. Great. Yeah, so we're going to continue in building this map today. Oh, and recently released, we did release the 2 new art packs this month. I guess we're at the end of the month now, and that was medieval buildings and also castles. So and that's actually a good kind of use case for this. So if we go into our medieval buildings here, a lot of these decorations are very great for just dragging and dropping. So you can just kind of pull these out and throw these into an environment. And maybe we'll finish this up and we'll go in and we'll build some of that stuff today. We can actually use that to augment onto this quite efficiently as well. So here we have our tower floors. If you were to drag and drop something like this, so maybe we were to grab something like a few of these little buildings and whatnot, we could drag these down underneath here and create little entryways or little areas that kind of come off from this building. One of the great things I think about this particular art pack is that these elements are really great for kind of stacking on top of each other and building complex image shapes very quickly. And in the background section, there's a bunch of pre-made areas there. I think it's a bunch of pre-made maps in that one as well, all ready to go. They might not be in my I don't always have the most up-to-date one. I kind of load them in and test them. Whereas the castle map pack is more along the classic kind of idea, where it's lots of fills and lots of brushes and things to create your own environments. And it should also work rather quickly there, especially with all the new tools that we have. Very cool. So let's finish this up. We'll do maybe like another floor and get this all done, and then we'll move on. So one of the things that we can do, and this is that's something that's really great that we can do in kind of Fantasy Grounds, is where we already have. We'll go into this second floor here, and here we have this floor that's already set up for us. Well, what we can actually do is we can just come down to our duplicate selected layers, and I can duplicate that. And then what I'm actually going to do is drag that right on top. And so I can have a brand new space that's already created for me. You can see that there's a couple of items that have kind of come with this. With the new elements here, what I can actually do is I can come in here and we can delete all of this. The other thing that I can do is, which is really great, I think we'll keep the dumbwaiter, we'll bring it all the way up to the top. And what we can do is now I can select these, for example, and this is because this is a fill element, and we can just remove these, and that's going to bring that right back up to where it was before. Oh yes, custom dice. Lots of really cool features that are going to be coming out over the next couple of months. Some really great stuff. Yeah, custom dice is very exciting. There's lots of really cool features with that, and as well as a bunch of other stuff that's in the works. It's a very exciting time for Fantasy Grounds, I think, with these massive advancements that we have in the image creation. And hey, Drake, yes, 24 floors to go. So one of the other things that we can do now is, because we have a lot of these elements that are kind of set up here. For example, we have our adjusted colors and so on and so forth. I think that this one is just for the second floor here. And then we have one that is underneath all of this stuff. But you can maximize this. We could do a single adjusted colors that will kind of go for all of the floors and put it above, and kind of do that way. If you plan these out without kind of just going at them haphazardly like we kind of do here, you can really maximize all of that stuff. Yeah, the custom dice looks awesome. Yeah, it's very cool. There's lots of really cool stuff that's going on with that. All right, so I think what we'll actually do is maybe we'll do like a ladder coming up to this floor, and then we'll put a roof on it. We can probably use some of the new castle art imagery and do a really cool stuff there. Ooh, Blade Runner? There's a new Blade Runner. We have no date for any of these releases. Anything that's kind of coming out, everything that's getting worked on. Because we're such a small team, depending on when something happens or other priorities that might come up, things might get delayed a little bit. So rather than set some sort of hard deadline for certain things, we tend to just let things happen as they may. But it's well on its way. I think that it will probably be out not too far in the future. Oh, very cool. I'll have to check it out. I love Blade Runner. Soon is the official date, yeah, as usual. So what do you think we should put on this second floor here? I'm actually gonna go into my assets over here, And we're just going to type in ladder. We've got a whole bunch of different ones here. And we can use these in a few different ways. Well, that's like a siege ladder. I think we'll probably do something like this. I think this is from like a modern. We have another ladder here. Oh yeah, we'll do like a top floor maybe. We'll do maybe one more above this. Do one more that's kind of housed in, and then maybe we'll do like a top floor that's kind of out in the open. We'll change it up a little bit. So I think what we'll actually do is I'll grab a ladder, maybe something like this, and we'll switch back over. And I'm just going to grab and drop this right into my painting tab here. And we'll go back into our second floor here. And I want this to be above the walls. Oh, I guess that's an adjusted layer there. We'll go just below it. What I'll actually do is I can go into the layer below this. I hold down R, G, and B, and I'm going to make this quite dark here. Make it a bit more of a shadowy color, and then I'm going to lower down my opacity. And what I'm actually going to do is just offset this a little bit, and we'll just create like a little drop shadow of it, just to give it a little bit of nice separation from that background. So we'll have this ladder that kind of goes up. We could do a whole bunch more with it if we wished. And then what I can actually do is I can grab this, and I will switch back over into my layers tab, and I'm going to move this right over the top. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower down its opacity. The reason why I'm going to do that is I'm going to make sure that this lines up. I'm going to create like a little an opening for this. And so what I can do is come into this little section over here. And here we have the difference between the walls and the elements here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to cut out a small little section over here. Go into my rectangle here. I'm going to go no stroke, but we want to have a fill, and then we want to go to subtract. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to create like a little fraction here. And now let's bring this back up. Full opacity. You can see we have this little area that's kind of sectioned out here. And now I can just move this to wherever I think is going to be appropriate. And I can just grab these ones. I don't need all of these extra ones, and I'm just going to remove those. I think it would be something more. We want to have a little bit of a lip over here. And then we'll drag this out. Now we can switch back over and pull this out. Now we have this nice little area over here. I can switch back over now to my painting mode and my stamp tool. I'm going to bring all of the colors and alpha all the way back up. And I'm going to make this a little bit smaller, and we'll just kind of do something just like this. This will be like a little bit of a reminiscent of the area below. Ooh, a bath and a study. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use, we have some of this lower kind of elements here, right? And this is the stuff that's kind of underneath that other one. I'm just going to actually use this one as well. And so let's go back into our stamp area here. I'm just going to grab this guy. I'm going to make it black. I'm going to just do this kind of underneath here a little bit. So we have a little bit darkness that's kind of beneath there. And now what we can do is we can go back up into here. I'm going to make this a bit smaller. I'm going to bring down the opacity a little, and I'm just going to kind of make this kind of feel as though coming up out of the darkness just slightly. What I like to do, especially with any sort of environmental, especially indoors, where there is a stairway that's either leading up or down, I will try to, wherever it's going to be going into the next level, whether it's up or down, I like to signify that by using a little bit of darkness there. And we can, well, so at any time what we can do is we can always come back into our elements here. Let's turn off our fill, switch back over to stroke. We can just grab this folder here and we can grab our little select settings. And so if we want to create anything else that's going to be inside of these areas here, we can just grab this and do that. Now these colors are changed on the actual layer level. So we can do some different colors in here, but we can also unify it pretty easily as well if we decide to put some walls in here. But just so you are aware that you can now jump back and forth and pick up any sort of image without having to search for it, which is another great feature that we have going for us now in the new system. Maybe what we'll do is let's do a couple of different little walls here. So we'll create a new layer and we're just going to drop this down here, and we should probably create a new folder and we'll call it floor 3, tower floor 3, and we'll drop this right down here. And we should probably rename this as well. Now we can build out some of this stuff. We want to make sure that that is correct, and we're going to do start off with a normal overlap here. We might add to it, but I think again what we'll do is we'll kind of separate this out, maybe go across this way. Maybe what we'll do is we'll create a little like this. I think what we'll do is and then we'll line that up. Sometimes when you have the mitered corners on just doing it with these, you get these little fragments. stick out. That can be remedied by having a different corner type of these, but that's just a bug that will get fixed when Carl gets back. I think to square this up a little bit, I'm just going to move it here. And then maybe what we'll do is do another one, and here I can demonstrate that. Let's do a different type of corner here. We'll do a little like hallway. And then we can come in, move these, whatever seems appropriate for our walls here. Perfect. And we'll call that one inner walls. All right, and so inside of these little areas in here, we can kind of a little bit off kilter. Let's change that a little bit. I'm just going to line this up a little bit more so it's a little bit straighter here. But it certainly doesn't have to be exact. And you know what? Let's just redo that one anyway. Doesn't have that little tail to kind of out of it. Perfect. We'll do a couple of different doorways here and build some little areas inside of here. And then maybe we'll do another ladder kind of coming up over here. So one of the great things that we can actually do in this, and switch back over, grab this, be able to, didn't want to grab that. Maybe if we zoom in here a little bit, we can get a little bit more precise. Can be a little bit finicky at times. I think it has to do with, nope, I don't want to stamp anything there. Maybe not. We'll just grab it from over here. And we'll do another one coming up over here like this. Perfect. We're going to be creating another layer, painting layer. What does this painting layer do? If you don't know, we can always jump into something like this. Looks like it's just an additional painting layer that nothing seems to be attached to. So let's just grab it and drop it in underneath our walls here. Oh, it's got that wall attached to it. Try that again then. Make sure you always have the correct wall. Correct layer. Oh, it's this funny bug again. So very interesting. All right, so let's create a new painting layer. We'll drop that down in underneath our wall there. And I'm going to hold down R, G, and B, and I'm going to use my mouse wheel to change its color. Then I'm going to actually turn off my aspect lock ratio, and we're going to make it quite wide. I'm going to lower down the opacity here. We're going to make it a little bit more smaller here, and I'm just going to stamp out a little really basic kind of shadows underneath these. We can even do some that kind of spill out. We're going to do some doors there anyway. And we can also create a new effects layer. And I'm actually going to bring this down in just above or just below that painted layer. And we're going to change this to a adjust colors. And we're going to lower down our brightness here to something like 45. And we're going to add a mask. What I'm actually going to do is hold down Control so I can just kind of do a quick little jaunt around the edges here, and maybe a little bit, especially in these corners. I'm just doing this with my mouse, so I'm not trying to be very precise at all. And then we're going to blur those edges out. And we're going to actually drop down our red a little bit, maybe to like 47. Like this. And I can hold down Shift as well with the Alt, and that will allow me to take away. You can kind of go back and forth here a little bit. And I want to add in a little bit more in some of these areas. Excellent. I think what we'll do is let's go in. We'll start to build up some of the furniture first and do some of the different elements that might be around here. Nice little incidental stuff. I like to add in elements that make the place feel used, like lived in. Makes it seem a little bit more believable. So doing a study and throwing things around, like you can always minimalize it, right? If you're trying to do more of a narrative kind of feel, oftentimes, and I don't know if you've experienced this as much as I have, but if you place an item, so let's say, for example, putting some of these items inside of this chest that we did last time, or putting a book and whatnot on the stand, my players will always be like, okay, so what's in this book, or what's this hat, rather than it being just like a narrative incidental item, something that just makes the place feel a little bit more of an actual spot. So you can definitely minimalize it and just make very bare bones kind of things, and then everything done through narration. But I have this tendency to try to make the areas feel like real areas. And you know what else might be kind of cool, just for whatever's sake? If we do a little bit of just kind of ambient imagery outside, on the outside here. Make it feel a little bit more connected to stuff. But we might do that at the end. See if we have time. We're going to do like a study and whatnot. So let's do like a bookshelf. We'll do one that's a little bit, and we'll go into our stamp. And one of the things that you'll have a hard time with on these rounded kind of walls is lining things up. So this is when I want to do something that kind of sticks up. This is when I really like to use things that have a little bit of perspective to them, because you can kind of counteract that. If you do something from a completely top-down perspective, then that can kind of seem a little bit weird. You'll have a little bit of spaces behind them and whatnot. If you do something like this, for example, you can kind of fudge it a little. What I'm actually going to do is let's make this a little bit more narrow, but I want to keep its width so I can kind of cover some of this stuff. I think what we'll do is we'll put in a little desk over here, and then we'll line this back wall. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to rotate it a little and make it seem a little bit more like sense. And we'll rotate it a little like this. And I think I might bring these out just a little bit. Actually, you know what? We should probably have them also stick up over here. So I'm just going to delete these. And let's create a new, or we could actually do it on the inner wall layer. That should be fine. Let's do that one more time. One here. Now these colors are adjusting because we have time of day over the top. And we can move these around here a little. Excellent. And what I'll do is I'll actually, let's type in book now. And we can grab some of these different books and whatnot. I actually have a couple of like pre-built elements like this. We can kind of make the, I'm going to stack some on the top as well. Oh, they're going the wrong way, aren't they? I'm going to make sure that the spine is facing out. Like here. Something like that. And then we have some larger ones. And I think what we can do is just grab some, well, grab this one. Make our own kind of piles here. And And maybe we can grab some different stuff and kind of place it around, but let's find something that we're going to use as our desk here. Good. And I'm going to make this more narrow. No, I want 1.5. And we'll here. Go to a little kitty corner. Let's do a little bit more of a comfy chair. Drop to the layer underneath. That right underneath there. Might even want to grab like this. And now we can go back up to here and we can start to decorate its desk a little bit. Start placing some items on there. I think we should definitely have a skull on the desk. Let's actually make it like gold. Golden. Coins. I think we'll put a lantern on the desk as well. Bits of paper. Wait, what? Ooh. That back. Awesome. Now let's grab some of this, the little shadowy stuff here. We'll move that down and lower down that opacity quite a lot. We'll add in a little bit of shadows off of some of this stuff. And this will just help add to some of the believability that actually. Do a little bit coming out from some of this furniture, bottom here. Cool. All right. Ooh, we can see that this is changed. There's a small bug that happens with the Z order of things. We'll just move this out a little bit, not so prominent. Seems to only happen with brush elements, stamped elements. The brush elements usually get pushed forward towards higher up, as though that they're the last things placed. I'm sure it'll all get taken care of when Carl gets back. Great. So let's now jump in. We can start to do some of the other elements around. Maybe we'll do like a long kind of carpet in the hallway here. We can do that a couple of different ways here. If we go to carpet, we can actually use one of these fill elements, something like this. We can change it to whatever we wish. But one of the things that I like to do is we can jump over, do like a rectangle, or we can do it with a line tool. But I'm gonna switch over so that it's gonna have a black line to it. A lot of what I do, and I'm gonna make it quite small, I always do things with like a stroke on them. And one of the reasons why I do that is to help separate, right? A lot of the stuff that we see in these images are from quite a distance. What I mean is you as the viewer, as the player, looking down on the environment. So from back here, for example, these lines around things help identify them more easily. You have a really good, clear understanding of the boundaries of stuff. And we can exemplify that with we can augment it with shadows and whatnot. But as long as you have something in the beginning to do that, it can help drastically. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to create this because this is a this will work really well as like a fill element. So what I can do is I can now create my own rug. We'll do like a nice long kind of carpet down this hallway. And I'm going to show you a couple of different things that we can do, especially with some of the new decorative elements that are in the castle art pack. We're going to kind of combine the two and use some opacity to not only do it with this base material, but then add in a different one on top. And we can do that really easily now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start clicking out. I'm going to do a few, we want there to feel kind of like that there is some movement to it, you know, and then we'll just hit escape to kind of end it there. We have this nice is down here on this particular layer here. What I can do is I can kind of move this stuff around. I can add in more of these points if I need to by subtracting or adding a particular element to it and then removing things around. So for example, if I want this over here, I can kind of do this. So there's just lots of different ways that we can kind of interact. We're going to have like this base kind of element here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go over to the fill edit, and I'm going to make the texture a little bit smaller so it doesn't seem, so it's a little bit too large. And we can change the color of this and all of that stuff. I'm going to do that now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm going to make the textures a little bit smaller inside of there. Now, what I'm going to do is let's go into the new castle art pack that's come out. I want to go in there. And in the fills here, you can see that there's all of these really cool kind of like decorative elements, right? We have these kinds of things. Well, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to lower down the opacity so this is going to kind of shine through, but I'm going to mimic what I just made there. And that way I'll be able to kind of create like a pattern on top of this. So let's go back into our fill, and I don't need to have any stroke now. I'm going to make sure that I'm a little bit on the inside of this, and I'm actually going to fade out the edges a little too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my stroke there, and then I'm going to grab one of these kind of designs here. I'm going to follow the shape that I've created here. So I'm going to go back over into my line tool, and I'm going to do this right on top. And you can see that it's going to be a little bit too large, and it's going to be off kilter here, but we're going to fix all of that. We can do that all after the fact. We're just going to roughly get this down here. We don't even have to worry about our opacity or anything. And then I'm going to double click and that. So now we're going to go into our fill edit. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate the image here a little bit. So we want that to kind of feel like it's going down this way. And then I'm going to make it a bit smaller, maybe something like this. I can hold down F now, and I can fade out those edges. And I'm also going to hold down A, and I'm going to add in, make this a little bit of a decorative design on the outside here. Let's fade that in a little bit more. What I will actually do is let's fade that in a bit, and then I'm going to move this out a little bit more. Kind of play with this a little here. This is why we don't really need to be super precise when we first kind of put it down. And this is how we can really start to see how powerful the creation system here is. Now, if I want to, I can come back in. I could rough up these edges a little bit more, and I can grab these, and we can maybe move this in. But very cool. And now we can move in. Let's do, what are we going to do inside this room? We have our little dumbwaiter thing over here. And kind of goes down into the bottom area down there. Maybe we'll make this just like another storeroom, especially if we're going to do something like a ballista or some sort of element on top. maybe what we can do is we'll just do like a bunch of like barrels and things in here. Where we're at. Yeah, so it's almost 4 now. We'll spend about another half hour on this before we move on to something else. Oh, look, what do we got over there? Where'd that come from? There. One of the other really cool things that you can do, if you're unaware of this, I've done these on this particular layer here, but I've shown this in the past. But if we were to reproduce this, let's create a new painting layer just so I can demonstrate this really quickly. You can really do some really advanced stuff by interacting with the system. So I'm just going to grab this, like a square of this really quick. And then where this is on a layer by itself, I can actually squash down that image and manipulate the image this way. And then if I switch back and forth, we can actually create some really cool kind of effects. I've shown before how you can create a regular map and then make it an isometric one really easily. From top down to isometric using this kind of technique. But you can do the same thing. Let's say if we're going to create like tapestries or something along the. You could take, for example, just to kind of demonstrate this, we'll go back in here and let's delete that layer and we'll create a new one. Let's say we wanted to put like a painting on the wall of another map, for example. So if we go into our, where we have like an image, for example. I wonder if I just have like I worked on. Yeah, so here we have, let's take this Krampus image for it. We'll go into here and I'm just gonna make that a fill element. And we'll make it something like this big. And then I'm going to, whoop, I didn't want to rotate it. This. And what you can actually do now is come into here, and if you squash this down, you can see you'll actually squash the image. It means that you can actually kind of create, let's say we want this to be our painting, and then we can rotate this. And then we can come back into here, and if we want to angle this in a little bit, and even here, move this around. And there you have it. You've taken a completely other image. And this is kind of a really cool feature that you can actually do, especially if it was something that you were going to use as like a handout. You can have like an actual real representation inside of your map, and then in addition to that, have an actual representation of it on the map itself, which is pretty cool. All right, now let's add in, I think we'll leave that in there. Might as well. It's kind of a cool little addition. And we can, I think we'll do like a thinking we'll do like maybe like, what do you think? Like ballistas on the top, and so we'll put in a bunch of like large like ballista ammo down here. Or should we do like cannons? What do you guys think? We do like a pile of cannonballs. Some other things. We'll do like some kegs of gunpowder and stuff. That. Otherwise, we could just do like a whole bunch of different storage elements. Alright, so let's just jump in and start to create some stuff here. So we'll do maybe some of the similar kind of crates that we have there. So we'll grab something like that. When you guys make your maps, do you oftentimes come up with the narration while you're making it? Or do you have a specific map that you have in mind while you're creating? What's your go-to creation method? Grab this one. Yeah, that makes sense. I would say. Hmm. Interesting. All right, well, why don't we take a quick break? I'm going to have to restart Fantasy Grounds, clear that out. And then I'll be back and we'll finish that up. And we'll move on to something else. So hang out, everyone. I'm just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Alrighty, and we're back. Thanks everybody for hanging out there. No, I didn't. I didn't lose any of the. All right, so what we'll do is we'll just kind of move up and do the final iteration at the top here. And so what I'll actually show you how to say we want to maintain everything that's kind of gone on so far, as far as like the tower size and everything for our final floor here. Well, there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, and I'm actually going to use the circle here, and we're going to go and I'm just going to grab here. I'm going to grab this, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to change. Well, that should see what we can move these also here. I wonder if it actually. Let's try it. I'm going to create one more floor here. Or maybe what we could. Wonder if this will work. Let's try this first. Duplicate this. Yeah, let's do that. And then all the stuff. Maybe what we'll do is we'll just keep that and rotate it. We can get rid of it. And then we can just rotate here. I don't need to rotate. I can actually just squish this. And then what I can actually do is we can line this up with the other one if we want. Act. And then what I'm going to do is I will find, I think in Siege Art Pack. We have some nice elements that might work. I wanted these. Try this one. I try a couple of different ones here. What I'm actually going to smaller, but I'm going to make it line up with this, and we're going to change its color and match the same kind of color. What I'll do is I'm going to turn off this, and we're going to make it a bit more narrow. Maybe we'll make. What I'll do is I'll go right into the middle here. I'm going to hold Control, Shift, and Alt. It's going to allow me to bring this. And I don't have to be exact right now. I can switch over and grab this. And I think we'll actually strokes. And we'll just bring. This is a little bit smaller. That's okay. Oh, I was going to actually match up the colors. And we have to do that first. That one more time. And we'll go to our tint here. And I'm actually going to grab the lighter colors there. Then we'll make it a little bit red. And the skin. We'll hit OK. And then again, I'm going to hold Control Shift. I'm going to hold Shift and Alt. And that's going to allow me to bring in right out from the middle here. And then I can double. Perfect. And then from here, I can actually go. We go into the other seed art pack. And our decorations, kinds of different ballistas and whatnot. What kind of weapons do you think would be on the top here? All right, let's go over into our stamp tool here. I'm going to make a new painting layer. We'll drop that right down in on top there. We will make it. It would be this, right? One with the platform back for it. What we'll do is we'll do all four sections of this. Something along those lines. And then for an easy way of creating a shadow here, I'm just going to hold down R, G, and B. I'm going to lower down my opacity. I'm going to go down to underneath it. Well, actually, you know what? That's not going to work because we don't want to have a shadow that's kind of sticking out. Normally, we could just do something like that. That's a little bit weird shadow there. What I can actually do is jump in that we were in the. We'll just do more of a vague shadow. Light. Cool. I think we'll go back and do change the. Very cool. All right. Do you guys have any questions or anything about what we did there? I suppose we probably should. Great. Not quite 24 levels there, or floors, but still pretty good. All right. Well, if there's no questions, or if there's anybody that needs any further explanation, we'll just move on. We'll go to the. We'll start creating something new. All right, this time I think what we'll actually do is jump in and do we'll use some of the new art packages that have just come out, and we'll go into like medieval buildings, I think, to build. So should we build, you guys want to do like a conglomerate, like a large structure, or do you want to do like a town, or what are you guys thinking? Have any preference here? Yeah, let's do another large structure. That sounds fun. So is there anything that you guys have in mind? What's the premise? So usually if I have, I'm going to be creating something along these lines, I like to come up with at least some minor kind of narrative elements to help me solidify my design or my concept for design. And oftentimes I'll augment it as I go. Oh yeah, we haven't done any futuristic scenes, that's true. We'll have to get on that. But I think right now we'll use the medieval art pack here. I'm going to go into my images here and I'm just going to create item. Yeah, why don't if we can make a church. Yeah, but why don't we make it like some sort of large, crazy construct? So we have a whole bunch of new different types of fills here. So we have like some base kind of backgrounds, types of ground elements we can kind of use, cobblestone and whatnot. And these are really great for kind of figuring out these different, as well as like different roofs. So we can kind of create any sort of shape that we wish. Work really well for that stuff. We also have some pre-made backgrounds. And in the final product too, there should be a bunch of maps in here already. I think that here, I was testing them out actually. So we'll do something kind of along those lines. I think maybe we'll grab like a background, something like this. Yeah. And so what I'm actually going to do is all of these, I'm not sure if these ones, no, I don't. What we can actually do is just kind of drag out and drop this onto. Why don't we just do that? We have this nice big area kind of to work on here. We got a little bit of rockiness, little bits of hidden cobblestone and whatnot. Oh yeah, futuristic laboratory. That's pretty cool. And then we're going to go into our fills here. I'm going to start to change some of this. And there's a couple of different ways that you can create a lot of variations across this stuff. So we have different kind of ground elements, right? And what we can do is we can kind of come in here. Let's turn our stroke off, and we're going to throw this into like a fill. And then what you can actually do is just kind of draw out shapes. Something like this. I'll go into the fill edit, and we're going to use our pull down F and fade out those edges. And you can see how well you can kind of create this. And I can just jump in here and grab this and around to where. And then what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to simplify that. So that there's a lot less kind of points used there. I'm going to lower the impact of doing this oftentimes throughout the image. I can also come in here, my edit fill, I can move this around again. I can change its rotation or its size, whatever helps me move it around inside of there to create exactly what I want. So we're just going to create some variations in the ground itself, and we might actually add in specific narrative elements as we progress here, but we're just going to kind of the next thing that I'm going to do is create an effects layer, and I'm going to drop this down in do it underneath, and I'm going to do this as a just colors. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to use this to create some variations in color from what we have already. We already have a lot of different variations here, but I want some lighter spots. So we'll do that. What we'll do is I'm going to increase, I'm going to make it a little bit more yellowy, like this. And we can increase the brightness. We might going to tone this back a little bit. Excuse me, momentarily. Next, what we're going to do is create a mask. I'm going to hold down Alt, and I'm just going to draw out some patches here. And then we can blur out those edges. That's quite a lot of change there. So we want to have this a lot less drastic. Maybe make this like 55. Maybe something, maybe even a little bit less. Because we just want this to be light variations. Very subtle. So I can draw out a couple of shapes. And we can take some away. Get a little bit of a difference. We can also do this with stamping in some different textures and doing all kinds of different. So there's so many different ways that you can approach pretty much anything that you want to do inside of Fantasy Grounds Unity. There is several different ways that you can kind of approach it, and it's just whatever works best for you. So make sure that you kind of experiment around and figure out how you like. The next thing we're going to do is begin to build out our base construct, and I think we'll do it up in the top over here. And then maybe we'll leave some space for some outlying buildings and whatnot. Let's see. Let's turn on our grid, actually. And then I'm going to lower down that here. Not too. Maybe a little bit more than that. Maybe something like that. And we can move this. Let's actually move the squares here. It's 25 by 25. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's actually make it 50. And we'll move this down a little so that we have plenty of room to work. And then we'll jump over our painting area here. And we're going to create a new painting. Let's call this one ground textures, because we're probably going to add in a whole bunch more. And we can jump into our decorations now. We also have a whole bunch of different brushes, and so we have different like platforms and stone walls, roads, and whatnot. And then we can start to build up. And what I'm going to do is basically we have in this, there's a few different types of roof types, and we can mix and match them for sure. But the best way to begin with is we're going to kind of create a very easily identifiable connection between the different parts. And we're going to layer these in a couple of different ways here. So you'll kind of see how I like to go about this kind of. We have like these elements, and these are all very similar, which we can kind of stack together really easily. But then we also have these ones, and these are all, as you can see, the roof types are all very similar. We can stack these. Well, doesn't mean that we can't mix and match these. It just means that they're inherently going to be more consistent across the board. Okay? But I do think that we should definitely have a little bit of variation in our large building here. Different elements that are, you can even kind of do it in a way that makes it feel as though the different pieces might even have some sort of theme to them. But I think we'll start off with some of these larger pieces. Maybe something like this. But I think we'll stick with these kind of blue ones here. So we can do this a couple of different ways. I'm going to paint these out, but you could certainly just drag and drop them out. Oh yeah, we should definitely do like a Blade Runner Cyberpunk City street at some point. That would be fun. I don't think that I have any art packs out that really handle that kind of stuff yet. I think what we'll do is kind of grab some of these like base images here and make this a little bit bigger. Gotta turn off our and what I'll do, I'll actually layer a couple of these. Let's grab a couple of different. I'm gonna start to make this feel as though that there is a layered element to it. We're gonna create a couple of different stuff here, above and below. We can grab some of these other elements as well and kind of alter their colors a little bit here. Grab actually. I'm going to replace this one. More of these kind of powered elements here. Let's create a new layer. I'm going to drop this one underneath. going to grab that one. Yeah, something like this. You know what? Let's darker. Bang. A little bit. Cool. Create a new effects layer. Not quite so. And then we'll do this, this. Go in here. I'm going to start to divide up. We can start to height here. This is where the shadows really become important because they will help divide or to show the different peak lines from which you kind of build up that narrative of the creation process here. As we kind of show how this layered on top of each other. You can just use these like stacks of buildings to create these very complex structures very quickly. And it will kind of alleviate a lot of that problem because there will be a little bit of a like a preconceived narrative by which you will have to adhere to because of the shapes of the buildings, which is a kind of step ahead of trying to do it all on your own. But then included in here is also all the different tools for doing that as well. So if you wanted to create, for example, if we weren't to in here, we wanted to create our own roof, we can certainly do that. So one of the things that we can do is we can jump into our fills here. Let's grab this here. Line. So if we were wanting to do this, we could also drag out a section of and very easily start to create our own. We could even want to change the color of our fill to match something more along the lines of these. Dark. Actually, we can do this after the fact. So what we could do is go into around and change this. Then we could match this cell. And it's a little purpley. Adjustment. Yeah, you can get it pretty close. Then from there we could build out what shape we want quite quickly. But now with this all done, we can kind of go back in. Let's into the couple of these that should be in shadow. Then the shadow there. No, unfortunately, we do not support any sort of files like that as of yet. No GIFs. Cool. Now we can go into our ground textures here. A lot of stuff going on. Jump over and grab some different types of image elements, and then we can start to kind of build up our scene here a little. Add in some trees and whatnot, and all the other incidentals that we might want for the area. I'm going to go into 2019 Art Pack. I'm going to grab some of these ground. So I'm actually going to grab this. And we can lower down the opacity of it. This out. And in doing so, I think we'll just get rid of this. Yeah, you can add in directional on tokens. Down the opacity of that a little bit. We could even, on top of this, if we wanted to create another layer here, add in moss on the top of the. Oh, for should be in your options. Facing indicator right here. I think we'll do. Add in some little variations there. And the next thing I will do is I'm just going to type in bush. And we'll create another layer here. We'll put this above here. We call this ground plants. We'll probably put like some rocks and things in there as well. No, there's no default support for isometric tokens. But you can use any image that you want for your token, and then you'll have like facing on there. And we'll add in some stuff. I think we'll make this one a little bit darker. Get a little bit more contrast here. Now, yeah, you're very welcome. I've actually shown before how you can create a map inside of here and switch it over to isometric pretty quickly. out some of this stuff. These are just kind of like incidental little elements. Oh yeah, well in Fancy Grounds it's super easy to make that. So if you create do it really quickly. Let's go into the dungeon art package here, and I'll just do this like super fast. We'll do floor. Rounded. I'm just going to drag out section here, and we'll add elements to it. Maybe do a couple. And then all you have to do to make this into an isometric map is you're going to obviously have to change the grid, but you just come in here and you just squash it down and rotate it whatever element is. So for example, I think we do it in this. Let's see. I might have one that we went through and kind of did it, but that's the premise there. Go into our images here. Normal dungeons that we created. And here I can yeah, it's super intuitive. So let me just I can probably demonstrate it a little bit better here for you. So here I'm going to hold down control. So here we're going. Here we're going to make a bunch of elements here. Building out this whole section. And then I can go into my layers tab, and in my layers tab I can actually hold this. So what I would do is like line it up, whatever you do for your grid system. You can see I can squash this down, create. I'm going to want to make these a little bit wider, but you can come back in after the fact. Going to be more. You're going to have to line this up with however your grid system, because you're going to have to change your grid to a diamond and then squash it out too as well. If we were to do this, make this 200 wide, so that's kind of like a classic. That. So we'll do it to this, but we'll put it back to normal for right now because we'll build a really quick top-down grid. I mean, square here. Okay. That's a So build out corridors, make some bigger areas. And maybe we'll stay on the inside. Here, squash. Great. Here we have like this really simple map, right? And then first thing you want to do is you want to change your grid. So we're going to change it to a diamond. I'm going to do 200, squash it down. And then what we're going to do is we're going to line this up with that here. Oh, why it's over there, but squash it. Then you're going to want to rotate it. All of your elements here. Oh, that's how we do it. Hold on. Let's go back. I missed a vital step. You want to rotate it, then squash. Let's do this one more time. One more time. Here, we're gonna switch over here. We're gonna do it like this. We're gonna build some areas. We'll do a circle area because this. What you do is you rotate it and then you squash. We have our little area in here. Let's make this squashed. Let's actually make it a bit bigger, like that. And I'm going to rotate it, line it up with my lines here. See, now it's back to normal, so now I can just then we have an isometric map. We might have to come in here and do a couple of adjustments. And we're going to have to change our, where it is, that's going to line up with the, you want it to come this way and that way, right? This, what you'll probably actually have to do is do it here. Then we'll have to right? Yeah, the grid system is going to be the hardest part. You can see it even changes the angle of. You're just going to have to. So as we change this, then we're going to other way. Make this. I'm sure that there's a way to kind of change this and then squash it into place. I'll have to think about it. Perhaps now if I just place here a little. Close. Might even be able to kind of. Yeah, it's pretty close. You could certainly come back in and you could painstakingly kind of just. Well. The cool thing about using fantasy grounds. Now let's map a couple plays. Okay, so now you have like this base kind of setup here. All you have to do is go into your line of sight and you can do all of your line of sight this and all work appropriately. If we go and grab combat track, we can play mode and we can line of sight. As you can see, I move around here. All works. Yeah, so it's certainly nothing that's kind of. Yeah, you gotta just mess around with it. You'll certainly get it for sure. But the great thing about it is you can kind of build it all out on a top-down perspective and get everything right, and then just rotate it and then squash it. And I think that once you get the correct kind of rotation and then the amount to squash it, you'll have it, and then you'll be able to build them right inside of Fantasy Grounds. Let's put this back to what it normally is, 100 by 100. And we'll go back to square. Oh, great. Thanks so much. So what we'll do here now is we'll start to build out some of this stuff. And add in all of the different kind of elements that will, kind of all the incidental things. Excuse me. I think I'm just going to type in tree. And then we'll add in another. We should probably start to layer add in names here. This lower. And then I'm going to grab some of the Nope, you can do it. All you have to do is just type in so you can rotate something an exact angle. If you turn this off, you can do it exactly. And then you can squash it an exact amount as well. So if we go back and let's do another painting layer here. If I come into here, I can, let's say I want to rotate it 45 degrees. Why that happened. It should do it based off of wherever this, if I rotate it here, should be able to do 45. Placing it down here, but it does make it 45. And then you should be able to squash it a specific amount. So turn this off, and I want to change my height to, because it's at 41 now, so if I wanted to do half, I could. But that doesn't working with painting one as well. That doesn't seem correctly. Here is where it works. Might need to eyeball it. Some of the new painting features that have just come out, which is all of these fill elements and whatnot. Still need some. The first is width. The second is height. Yeah, but mess around with it. I'm sure that you'll figure it all out. One thing that I would suggest, though, is that make sure that you're not unaware of this, right? Before you, so let's say, for example, yeah, wonder if I have something that I can say. Okay, so here, if I was going to squash this all down, right, for example, I can do all of these different things. I can create a new folder. Before I mess with it too much, what I might want to do is make a duplicate. So all I have to do is grab this. It's going to make a duplicate of this image. So that way, if I wanted to, I could just grab the duplicate. And it's going to be everything that I've just. But this way I can, if I ever cause a problem or here, because I placed everything in one folder, I can now use this as a conglomerate, right? If I was going to make this isometric, I might want to rotate this image a little. And you can see it's not gonna affect your text. And then once it's all rotated, I can come back in and I could squash. And if you leave, if you go to another tab and come back, it'll reorient it. Then you could. There's a lot of stuff here. Probably. But just to give you an idea, make a duplicate. The art that I'm using comes with the well, it's all in-house produced art, so you can either buy the art packages or there's an art subscription, which is $5 a month or $50 a year. Yes, all of the stuff that we do here, it's all done just with the art assets, our official ones. Correct. Which we've made lots of different ones. Well, thanks, Dominic. Here's like a map that we made a little while ago. This is the kind of stuff that you can make pretty easily inside of Fantasy Ground. This is as an entire cave section that we made. Probably round out some of the angular. Yeah, if you're going to do like isometric, you're going to have to build out your own maps, but you can do it right over the top. And then can then do any sort of adjustments you want afterwards. But yeah, you'll have to do it yourself. Yeah, Dominic, we do. We got to have more sci-fi. All right, I'm going to grab a couple of these trees now. We're going to go into this higher paint area here. I'm going to do some that kind of flip over some of these edges here. And what I like to do is like layer these on top. Kind of get this kind of feeling that either there's more than one or there's like a large tree. And then I can come back in and adjust some of. We'll do a couple of different. And we can start to play maybe a couple of out here as well. We can even change the color. Maybe I'll add. Then we go into our adjust colors and see here, we probably don't want fronts of these trees. Shadow. We do want backs of these ones. That'll cast a little bit of shadow on the ground. This is all done just with an effects layer. We can come in. Well, you can see just by doing a small amount of that, changes it so much from being flat to be something with a little bit of shape to it. We have some chimneys and whatnot that are. So I think we're kind of getting towards the end of the stream here. So if you guys have any other questions or anything, I'm more than happy to answer it. I'm going to add in another effects layer. I'm going to do a clouds like this. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to also add in a mask, and I'm going to draw out some shapes coming up out of these. Don't worry, we're going to adjust this and work a lot better. Slow it down a little. I'm going to blur out these edges. You want to make sure that they're kind of all going in here. I'm going to drop down shadow a bit. This would lower down the speed. Maybe we'll do something like 5. Yeah, something slower like that. We're going to blur out these edges. Maybe we want to slow. Maybe we'll do something like 50. And then we can come back in and make these a little shaped. What this is going to do here, as this slowly, maybe we'll make it go a little bit faster. Let's do like, going to kind of fade in and out a little bit. Get a little bit of that motion. And you can see as this kind of travels by, kind of dissipates and then it will come back. Some really nice kind of interactions. Yeah, that kind of fades in. You get these really cool kind of elements. You can duplicate this layer. If you want to have more kind of interaction, what I would do is you can duplicate this, and if I duplicate this layer, it's going to duplicate all of my parameters, including my mask. Lower this down, this opacity to something like 60, and then let's duplicate it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to change the speed of it. So get kind of a two different amounts here, kind of coming through. That'll create it being a little bit more distant. Even want to add in some of these darker elements. You get some of these like puffs of dark smoke as well. Here we might even want to that down a little, like so all you have to do is go into your painting area and you can your line, rectangle, and ellipse tool all have two different elements here. We have a stroke element, fill element. You can put your floor in here and your stroke element here, and then you can use all of these different parameters. So we can start off with a regular overlap, and then you can just kind of draw out any shape you wish. And then your overlap element, you want to add to it. Then you can't flatten any layers yet. That is something that's been talked about, but currently you cannot. But what you can do is put them into folders. So if you have a bunch of different layers, you can put it into a folder, and then it will act as one layer within that folder. Nope. So what I could do, so here we have building upper and lower. For example, I can make a folder here, and then I can take both of these and place them in there. Now, when I come into here, this will all act as one element. So I could move this as it is, and I'll hit Control. But there is talk in the future of possibly. So maybe stay tuned. All right, guys, do you have any other questions? I think we'll call it here for today, unless you guys have anything else that you'd like me to explain to you or Anything that you have a question on that you'd like? Well, all you have to do once you have all of your lines down, you just go into the line of sight tab and you just hit this button, duplicate paint layers as well, with that layer selected. But you can also do it from inside your edit area, so you can also duplicate selection as walls or all of the. Yeah, sure, Dominic. I'm just going to do a couple of little shadows coming out from underneath our building here. Yeah, no problem at all. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm here every Saturday, and I stream from 3 p.m. Eastern Time to just about 6, and we go over all the art stuff. We do all of this stuff, and so if you ever have any questions, that's why I'm here. Pop in and ask away. I'm more than happy to jump in and either figure it out if I don't know, or give you a demonstration on how to do some of the stuff with the tools. Super flexible. It's it's a wonderful system by which you can create all kinds of different images and maps. So yeah, jump in there and use it. Figure it all out. It's super powerful, and I think that it adds just a huge immersive layer to the gaming experience. So thanks everyone again, and we'll see you all next time. Take care, everybody.